Yeah. Okay, welcome everyone to the Monsterella Panel. My name's Allegra, I'll be your moderator today, and we're going to start this off with a quick little video. Shall we introduce ourselves?
Everybody hear me?
Yeah.
I'm Nevin Arnold, creator of Monsterella, and I'm Hangman Comics. Published the book as well. And I guess the idea for the book basically came from wanting to do an anthology, utilizing all the amazing local talent that there is around here. I wanted to do an anthology with a twist. I've always been a big fan of the old Vampirella magazines. I don't know who here is familiar with the old Vampirella magazines. Good people. That's from the 70s. Basically, Vampirella, there would be a Vampirella story, and then from there, Vampirella would go on to introduce other stories, and she was sort of the narrator of the book. And so I thought that might be a fun way to approach it. And there's no shortage of talent locally, so we all go to the same shows, and I just thought it'd be a great opportunity for us to all work together. And I have a giant copy of the book here. I can pass it around and people can flip through it. Yeah, that's where the idea came up for. Monsterella.
I'm
supposed to be pushing through.
Oh yeah.
And there's some stuff to look at. So these are some of the pages from the book. This is my story, so I draw the first story in the book, which is about Monsterella. That's not me. That's Dan. Oh no.
That's it.
Okay, well that's the cover. And that. This. Yeah, this is me. Yeah. So this is the first time that you see Monsterella in the book. Monsterella herself is the warden of an intergalactic prison planet. And you can see there's a bit of a revolt going on here, and that's where the story starts. Yeah. And yeah, that's where the story starts. And then from there, it moves into Dan's story.
I'm Dan McKinnon. Nevin talked me into doing a story for the Monsterella book as well. Nothing like free labor to put your book together. But it was a really good idea. Like I said, we all end up at the same shows, either here or around Vancouver, and if we're all going to be at the same shows, we might as well work on a project together, so we kind of have something that, you know, represents where we're from and what we're doing. And it's one thing to do an entire comic book by yourself. It's a ton of work. So to have everybody do a piece of the book makes it that much better and that much easier and that much faster to get it out. To be fair, I think most of the credit goes to Nevin on this one. He was sort of the driving force behind this and the guy who did the Kickstarter and the video and the editing and sort of made the whole thing a reality, which, thank you, Nevin. No, this would not have happened without you. So I did...
Thanks, Nevin.
Oh, thank you. So I do more Dungeons and Dragons fantasy kind of stuff. That's the stuff I like to do, but I think the beauty of doing this sort of anthology style book with Monsterella as sort of the narrator is you can kind of just do whatever story you want and just use her to sort of tie it all together. So I tried to do a short story set sort of in the same kind of world as the comic book series I do myself, just with more sort of a horror twist. So there's necromancers and dungeons and zombies and that kind of hack and slash sword and sorcery kind of stuff. So I did something that I just did the pages in pencil. There's no inks at all, so I just did straight to the colors. Colors. It's more. Mine's the black and white or black and gray sort of story. So it's a little gloomier looking, which I think lends itself sort of to the horror kind of genre. But I'm a better penciler than I am an inker, and it saves me time if I don't have to ink it, so I can get it done faster, which is always good. But I think it came out okay. I like the way that it looks, and I'm happy to have skipped the inking on this one, so I might...
Who did the inking for that?
Yeah, that's me.
That's like an example of your pencil pen ink.
Yeah, one of the reward tiers for the Kickstarter was $50 or something. You got a book and a piece of original artwork, so that was the drawing I did for the Kickstarter, which somebody in the States snapped up.
We're going to use that as the back cover on the second issue.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, that's it, I guess. It was a really fun experience. I think it was really good for all of us. I think, like I said, it's nice to have a finished product, and it's nice to have something that we sort of shared sort of as a team, I guess. I think that's the end of my stuff. That's it. I'm done.
So before I introduce my story, let's kind of piggyback on that. Just about the collaboration. None of us. Can you hear me? Is that good? If you're wondering how we work together, we all live in different places. Nevin's out near Nanaimo area. I'm in Victoria, and he's in Vancouver now. So the cool thing about this story is none of us actually collaborated, really. Like, we all sat in our house and just drew our stories by ourselves and didn't talk to each other at all. But the book somehow works when you look at it. They're all female lead characters, which was not planned in any way. And they all have the same type of tone, but the style is very, very different. So the roughs that you just looked at were all Dan stuff. We'll go back through so everyone can see. We can talk a little more in depth how Nevin does his thumbnails and how Dan does his stuff. I'll just go through my story real quick. What was the name? Name of Nevin's was Monsterella. Dan's is Dungeon
The Dungeon of the Necromaster.
Necromancer. So those are those. So this is my stuff. I have a few images that show how I start an idea. So this is before I even actually start drawing any of the pages or anything, or when I just have an idea of a script in my head. I wrote and illustrated the story. This is a hallway. I knew there was a very important part was a hallway. So it was very ugly, but I needed to get that out of my head and kind of see that. And so I didn't know what she was going to look like, so I did something very quick just to understand. I knew I wanted her hair up, so that through the story there's kind of an unraveling, so when her hair fell down it kind of gave the viewer that feeling of kind of tension. So these are just things I didn't even know really where the story was going yet. Again, the one on the right was very important to me because I could just see that image in my head at all times, and I needed to get that out just so it kind of solidifies the story, it makes it a reality. And so this is what my early stuff looks like when I'm doing a concept. These are some early pages. This is only the first page. I have multiple pages of the first one. And I did this for almost every page because I'm extremely neurotic and I can't decide on one thing, which kind of hurts the artwork, but it is the way I work. So you can see like the thumbnails on that one. is there's always a moon. I tried some grayscale stuff. I didn't know what I wanted the style to look like. I tried a full page because I wanted the first page to feel very slow. I didn't know how to you know, in film there's techniques, and same with illustrating comics, there's kind of techniques to make something feel fast or make it feel slow. So I was practicing with that. And then the next one was, just more concepts. That's kind of where the page ended up going. And the reason I chose that kind of cinematic, just very simple look is I wrote the story in the form of a poem. So when I tried to illustrate it as a comic book, it wouldn't work because I was describing things with the images that already were described in the poem. So it was just kind of counteracting each other. So I needed to that was my biggest challenge, was finding a way to make the story and the illustration. I had to rewrite the story with pictures, which was very tough because I spent like 3 months writing the story, which is way too long to write a story that's only 10 pages long, which is ridiculous. I got a lot of hate mail from Dan through the whole thing.
Josh needs 4 more pages.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's I tried grayscale. That's what I ended up with. It's just, yeah, it is what it is. And then that was the first 3 pages. Again, some very rough work. This is what it looks like when I'm trying to get the idea down. And then the most important thing with the main character, the name of the story is the Stork. I'm sure a lot of you have not read it. But this is the main character. You only see him twice in the entire book, but I spent a lot of time designing the concept because it was very important for him to look menacing. These were the 2 first ones I did. And I knew like how he would look. And it kind of evolved. I did some rendering stuff just so it's more 3D and it feels more. None of this stuff really ends up in the book, so it seems like a waste if you're just looking at it and seeing that none of it's in there, but I need to know that it exists for me to...
That's how you get there.
That's how I get there, right. It's like anything, any movie, any script, there's things no one will ever see, but there's like countless hours of work put into it. And that's kind of the final design of how he looked. That's pretty much, I think that was the final image I drew for a concept, and then this is what he looks like on page. That was the final reveal. I kind of spoiled the story, but again, I don't think anyone's going to cry over that. And then Sun.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Whoa, it's weird hearing your own voice.
None of us have used a mic before, which is why I'm not speaking into it.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Sun, and I did the cover for Monsterella. Nevin came to me and said, "Are you interested in illustrating something weird, creepy, and sexy?" And he knew the answer was going to be yes, because that's what I'm into. So what we did at first is, he said, "Go ahead, you just do whatever you want." I'm like, really? Oh my gosh, that never happens. Publishers are usually like, this is exactly what I want, and they're hard to work for usually, but Nevin was totally chill. So I sent him a few thumbnails, like really, really, really rough stuff, of kind of the idea, that's Copics, yeah. So just inks. I went straight into inks and into Copics because I really wanted to have a really loose feel of just the idea. That's all it really was. So because she's monsters, I guess. She like controls them. What's the?
She's a monster.
I see you haven't read the book.
Yeah, I haven't read a lot of books that I've illustrated.
Before she was the warden of this prison planet, which imprisons monsters. She was a monster hunter, so she's an intergalactic monster hunter.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
so she's always.
I had to have monsters in there.
I guess it's good to say too, none of our stories actually like tie in at all. They're completely separate
Nobody
stories.
paid attention to Nevin.
No.
So, yeah, we
Yeah. Well, yes. No respect for Nevin.
Sorry, Nev.
No, I knew when I got everybody here together, I knew that I didn't even have to worry about what they were going to do. That's why I could just say, just do something. Because
make it cool.
Yeah, because I know the quality of their work, and I've seen everything that they've done before, and I knew without a doubt that everything would just be awesome. So that was nice to not have to even worry about it. Just say, okay, just do it, and make sure it's like this many pages, or within a page or 2 kind of thing, and we're all good.
And most of us stuck to that.
Yeah. Well. It's okay.
So anyways, going back to the thumbnail, I was really hoping he was going to pick 3. I was like, 3 looks pretty sweet to me. And he emailed me back and he was like, I'm really digging 3. So we went with it. And so yeah, basically when you have your idea in your head and it's pretty much ready, you just need reference and lighting, deciding what your colors are going to be. Because I wanted to give it a creepy feel, I figured that blues and purples would be good, especially in the background. And that's sort of the color of mist anyway. It's kind of grayish and bluish, and she really got to stand out. So because there's already a lot of black and white happening with her, but the red was it's like an eye magnet, right? And the orange and the yellows and the monsters, those are all little eye magnets and I guess Easter eggs you can call. If you keep staring at a picture for a long time, you'll find new things. So yeah, that's what I try to think about when I create an image is eye magnets and what else? I wrote things down, but I don't remember.
None of us stayed on.
But colors are really important, and lighting is super important too. So it might not be exact lighting. So if she was actually standing on a rock of monsters and the moon was hitting her in a certain way, like it wouldn't actually look like that. But I look at a lot of Frazetta artwork, and if you actually study his work, it's not perfect. The lighting isn't like that's not what would happen, but that's just what looks good. So I try to keep that in mind when I'm illustrating.
Dramatic is better than accurate.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And also it saves your butt because you can be like, oh yeah, I meant that to happen.
So how long did each of your stories take to do?
Far too long.
It takes quite a while. I just work on stuff. Well, we all have jobs, and this is something that we do around our other responsibilities. For myself, family and full-time job, and I own my own business, so I'm there usually 12 hours a day kind of thing. So for me, I only work on my stuff between 5 a.m. and 7 a.m. 7 days a week, pretty much every day of the year. Yeah. And so for me, it was pretty slow. I think it took probably a good 6 months or so to pencil it was originally 8 pages, and then I added another 3 pages for the deluxe digital edition. So it's got 3 bonus pages, so there's 11 pages altogether. But yeah, for sure took about 6 months or so for me.
I'm a bit quicker with it. Well, since I fired my inker, I just go straight to the pencil, so it goes a lot faster. And I've got a friend who I work with doing my own comic book series, and he was happy to do the script for this one. But I think sometimes the layout and stuff takes longer than the actual penciling. Like Josh said, a lot of times there's a lot of panels that I had an idea for, and sometimes I draw a page or 2 that just never goes anywhere or never actually ends up back in the book. But if the panel's or the page isn't crazy, I can do 1 a day, sometimes more. So this was one of those things that was not getting paid for, so I wanted to get it done quickly. I don't mean to say that just get this out of here, but it's there's a lot of stuff I would like to spend more time working on, but like everybody else, you have bills to pay and life demands time and money. So the stuff that I'm not getting paid to do has to be a little faster sometimes, but I'm super happy with the way it came out, and it was one of those things that I really wanted. Yeah, I wanted it to be really good because I knew it was going to go everywhere, right? So everybody who worked on the book is selling the book, so it's everybody who's selling the book is inadvertently promoting your work as well as their own. So if you're going to put it out there, you might as well put the time into it. But it went quickly, and I was super happy with how it came out and how quickly it went. So I think 2 weeks. I think it was only
2 weeks.
It's only 7 pages or 8 pages or something.
It took me 7 months to read 10 pages.
Yeah,
I'll
so
send you write the story though.
about 2 weeks.
Well, we have a Facebook we have a Facebook group where we all like share each other's work and keep up on where we're at with everybody, and then when Dan started 100 pages, it seemed like every 1 or 2 days he was posting a new page, and everybody was like, "How's he doing this? Has he already done these and he's just putting them up now?" No, he's just doing them.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things, like, especially, like, a lot of the artwork stuff, especially contract stuff, you don't get paid by the hour. They just pay you by the pages, or they pay you by the finished artwork, so the faster it's done, the more it's worth, and inevitably, especially if you're working for somebody, like you said, some people, like, oh, hey, I want this, you draw it, you send it, oh, actually, can we do this, then you fix it and you send it back, oh, actually, can we add this, and then the thing that was supposed to take a day ends up taking a week, and the $200 you're supposed to getting paid for 1 day's work turns into $200 for 3 or 4 or 5 days work, so I've gotten used to just, okay, this is the page I'm going to do, I'm going to draw it, and if it's not perfect, that's fine. Like, you just, not every page can be perfect. The idea is to try and make every page a little better than the last page you made, but not to go back and fix and fix and fix and change and change and change. So,
Which is exactly what I did.
I mean, if you have the time, I mean, that's how you get better at doing what you do, is by fixing and refining. But yeah, like when I have a deadline or something I know I need to get done, that's sometimes, a lot of times I'll look back at it and be like, oh, I wish I don't like this panel anymore, and there's a couple panels in this that I just can't even look at, I'm not upset about, but you just kind of got to, if you're going to do this for a long period of time, you're going to eventually do hundreds of pages, and they're not all going to be perfect, but you just got to learn to let it go, which, yeah, so 2 weeks, give or take.
Yeah, mine was about 7 months. I drew so dumb.
Too extreme.
Yeah, so ridiculous. Because I did I'll show you.
Yours are mega detailed, man. Some of the first pages with all the buildings and stuff is pretty.
Yeah, okay, so this is this is all the same page. And this is only half of that same page. So I redrew the first page 8 to 10 times, and I did that with every single page, because like I said, I'm a freak. I don't know what's wrong with me. I can't decide on something.
We can you help, Josh.
No, it doesn't work. No, not at all. And yeah, so it took me forever. And the poem I found so hard, because I'm not a good writer. I feel like I'm a better illustrator than I am a writer, and I had to learn how to write a poem in a narrative form to fit into a comic book, which is, I don't know why I did that, because it's way too difficult.
It reads well.
That's what really hurt me, and that's what made it take so long, for sure. But it's like when you get the idea, or you know how you want the whole thing to feel and the world to feel, and you know the poem just kind of makes sense. It's like you have to put in that extra work, which I ended up doing, and yeah, it was the hardest job I've ever had to do in my life. And that's the best thing about it though, is we were all complimenting Nevin, because yeah, when you have work, people are always upset with something dumb, and you have to change something, and you're like, you don't know what you're talking about, and then you have to change it back to what you wanted to, anyways, because you can do better. But Nevin was just like, yeah, just do what you want, and I'd be late every single month, and be like, yeah, sorry, Nevin, I'm late again with my pages. I have problems, and he'd just be like, yeah, that's cool, that's fine. And go, oh, whatever you want. Does this look good? Then he's just so complimenting with everything.
Well, too, because he's doing such amazing work, and it's not like there's a big studio or a huge release date that millions of dollars have gone into promoting or anything. So if it didn't make it for last Halloween was the original goal, but so it came out this year instead, and
I feel like I single-handedly destroyed that.
No. No, it had to be perfect, and it ended out perfect.
He's being nice. Do you want to do any Q&A?
Yeah, we totally. Well, I have a question for you. How did you get the idea for the reverse Stork? Because normally the Stork brings the babies and it's a happy time. So
yeah, I actually have a story for that. I'll try to make it as quick as I can. But I was walking with my mom, who's sitting right there, and I was just shooting out ideas like a madman. Because I knew I had 6 months at this time. And I was working this really this really bad job that I didn't like, and And so it was like really kind of distracting me, and I knew that I had to find an idea, and I'm not really a horror fan, I don't really do horror stuff. So I'm like, well, I want it to feel like the way I like horror, which is kind of not super aggressive and not like hack and slash and not, you know, like just I don't really like that stuff. I like the more spooky stuff. Yeah, the very calming stuff that's kind of creepy. And I shot out an idea that I still want to do that I didn't use. That's the one I was going to do, but I realized it was way too much work to do in 10 pages. I couldn't do it, and so that's down the road. But just jokingly, I said, like, what if the Stork, you know, steals babies instead of brings them? But then I was walking down the street. Okay, segue. There's this video on YouTube that
It all started on
yeah,
YouTube.
no, there's it's something psychological where. So it's something in the brain where we see everything that we see, you know, but only a very bit of it is brought to our conscious, everything else is stored in our subconscious. So there's lots of things that you'll see, and this happens all the time, an artist will copy another artist and not know it because they saw it in the corner of their eye and then thought they came up with the idea. And there's a video that proves that, where it takes these artists and takes them through downtown, they bring them to this place and they ask them to draw this specific image, and the people who asked them to do that drew the image like a week earlier. And on their way they set up all these points where it would be like a name, people wearing shirts with designs on it, and by the end of it, the two people basically had the same drawing because they saw this all, and it was just that series of events. So I think as I was talking about this kind of freaky stuff and getting in that headspace, and then a couple of weeks ago I was walking down Dallas Road, where I walk down every day, and I saw for the first time on top of a building is like a stork on one of those like compass things on top of the building, you know, like the metal one. It looks like a stork flying. So I guarantee you that I saw that in the corner of my eye. It's the first time I ever noticed. It was like a week or two ago. But that has to be. So it was probably, and it took me about an hour of rambling with like just a crazy person, and then it eventually turned into that. Yeah, which I think. I don't know if any of that made sense to anybody.
It's the artist's mind, right? That's the process. Does anyone have any questions for? Yeah.
I have a question. That's for the men. So I've always been fascinated by the mystery of the female mind, the mind of a woman. How do you channel in your inner diva when you're illustrating a woman's point of view?
Good question.
That's a good question. I don't know. I don't think about it that much, I guess. I write it and then I go for it and then I wait and see what my wife says when I show it to her usually and adjust from there. I don't do a ton of writing, so I don't usually tackle that kind of thing. It's actually only in the last few years that I finally feel comfortable drawing women all the time. It was a big hurdle when I started drawing as an artist. I think it's just because you have because I'm a man, I have the reference points to draw the male form easily. Like it just comes to me. But actually getting used to and comfortable drawing women was a big step for me. But writing women, I don't think I still know really how to do. I don't think it's that big of a difference. Like unless it's, yeah, I don't think about it much, I guess.
Yeah, luckily for me, Monsterella is very masculine. So yeah, she's a 6'6", half Amazon, and so she's pretty easy to write because she's basically, I don't know if anyone here is familiar with Big Barda from DC. She's basically Big Barda crossed with Judge Dredd, crossed with Vampirella a little bit, and maybe a little bit of Wonder Woman. So for me, for female characters, and Calavera the Undead, the series that I did before this, was a female lead as well. I just kind of write the character, I just kind of wing it, and like Dan, I run it by my wife and see,
okay.
Yeah, is this what someone would say or whatever, but for the most part I just write the character, and it doesn't really matter if it's male or female unless you have someone acting like way out of the realm of one or the other, then it's maybe a little strange, but
Yeah, I think that's the trick from writing most characters is you, like unless you're writing something specifically about being a man or being a woman, I think you just write the character and then you can almost assign the sex afterward. I think that's sort of the trick to writing any characters, to not, like, I think the idea is to not write a female character as though it's a different kind of character. You just write the character and let it be a man or a woman, sort of as you assign the genders to the characters when the story sort of fleshes itself out. Yeah, I'm not much of a writer, so I don't have a ton of insight on it, I'm afraid.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. My story isn't really about characters, though. No, there's no dialogue. No one speaks. It's all narrated. So there was no, and that's why I made it a poem, which I thought was saving me time, because I thought, oh, I don't have to develop characters, and I don't have to develop, you know, all these concepts. I'll just have it all narrated, which will save me a lot of time. Didn't work that way. So I don't really have any characters in my story. The only thing that's important is the world. That's the only thing I wrote. So the mother, I did play around with whether it was going to be a mother or father, right? Because they have different feelings. A mother cares differently about their baby than a father does. There's a different feeling towards that. And I wanted there to be, like, not that moms love their children more, but there is something to that, right? So that idea that the mom is rushing to her baby's need is more intense, I feel, than the father. So that's why I chose, the gender is kind of just a tool. Like, I don't treat it differently than I would the color of someone's hair or their eyes or whatever like that. You know, whatever serves the purpose the best is how I address that. And so yeah, I chose the mother, and also I wanted there to be a certain feeling of, like, vulnerability from her, that she wasn't this, like, huge masculine person that was going to go save her child. The whole point was that these people are in danger. Like, there's danger there, and you get, like, you know, she's in a robe the whole time, so she's kind of exposed, and it's this very, like, cold feeling. That's what I was. So I try to use as many elements that way, and so having her be a mother really helped that way. So that's where the gender came from.
Nevin, where did Zorgo come from? How did you cook him up?
Well, I wanted Monsterella to have, like, a sort of a sidekick. But I didn't want just, like, a stereotypical sidekick, like a younger girl or a younger boy kind of thing. I wanted some kind of a creature because, you know, she's all about monsters and hunting monsters and being the warden of this monster prison and all that. So I thought it would fit best if her sidekick was a little monster. So he's more or less he's like a space dwarf kind of character.
He's that guy right
He's
there.
this little guy there. And if you come by my table, he even has his own little trading card, which tells you more information about him. But and he doesn't speak English, so he only speaks, like, those little symbols that look like swear words. Yeah, so it looks like he's. Yeah. So it always looks like he's cursing, but only she can understand him.
Like Chewbacca kind of thing?
Yeah. So if you're passing around the book there, you'll see there's a few parts where he's talking and only she understands what he's saying. But yeah, that's basically what he is a little space dwarf. And her hunting companion, they partnered up together back in her intergalactic monster hunting years before she became the warden of this prison planet. And he's been her hunting companion. And he's just a tiny little guy, but he's super, super tough. And he's second only to her, probably, for fighting and for taking down all these giant monsters and creatures that she's always up against. So he's kind of an interesting little guy.
Cool. Yeah, over here.
Question for Sun. I don't think we heard how long it took you to do it. And for any of the panel, can people make a living, a full-time living with the doing comics? And how big is the Canadian industry?
Okay, so I'm gonna try to answer the first one. It took me a couple weeks, full time. Only because I'm a perfectionist and nothing's ever good enough. So you can work on a piece of artwork for the longest time. You just have to kind of learn to just say, okay, it's done. I'm sending it in. Also, the deadline helps.
So you could say no art's ever finished. It's just abandoned.
Yeah.
You're never actually done with it. At some point, you just have to move on and say.
I do think you can make a living if you're fast, and if you have a big enough name that you can say, you know what, I'm just gonna, this is how much I want to do the work, and if they accept, then they do, and that happens all the time. John Gallagher is one of the guys that throws a boss movie. He just says a random number when he doesn't want to do the work, and they still say yes. So it depends on the level that you're at, and I think that having a following really, really helps, obviously, because everyone wants to hire the next big artist, and they want to pay him. It doesn't matter what, because they know they're going to sell those comics. So yes, there is a lot of money to make. And everything's solo, right? Every one of these stories were done by the artist, except for you, Dan, right? Because you had a couple of other people. But usually it's an assembly line, right? So you have your penciler, you have your inker, you have the scripter, and you have the colorist at the end, and somebody puts it all together and makes a book. So everyone gets a little bit of money. So if you can finish a penciled page and you're getting paid $100 for the page, but if you can do 3 of those a day, then yeah, you can make a living doing it. So it's just about being fast. Did I answer all the questions?
The Canadian industry, how big is it compared to American?
There's not a whole, from my experience, I get a lot of work with the States. So the currency right now is great. So I'm not sure about Canadians as much.
Yeah, I don't know much about the Canadian comics industry either, to be totally honest.
I don't know that there are any Canadian comic book. What's that one, Drawn and Quarterly? They're out of Montreal or something. But they do more sort of stuff with Chester Brown, and this Louis Riel, and these sort of like history-based books, and more like comic strip type things, as opposed to like floppy comic book style kind of things. So I don't know much. I think realistically, if you're trying to get into comics, you're trying to break into the American market. Like that's where where the biggest numbers are, and the best, like I said, with the exchange rate, that's where you ideally would like to be working, is for an American company. And yeah, I think especially comics, it's a speed game. Like unless you're super well known, like I know some guys, like I think Mike Mignola and some of those guys, they take forever to do pages, but it doesn't matter because it's Mike Mignola, right? His name sells his work enough that it doesn't matter that he's not really fast, but
You're good enough too. People are going to want to hire.
Yeah,
if you're
absolutely.
just insanely talented,
Yeah.
then you're going to make money.
yeah, but yeah, I think being good and being fast, like I said, especially with comic books, being fast and being reliable is another big one. The first time you drop the ball, they're not going to pick you up the next time. A lot of people aren't going to want to hire you if you can't hit deadlines, if you can't keep up, or the quality doesn't keep up, then you get quickly passed over. And I'm pretty sure that most of these industries comic books isn't a huge market. Like it's not a huge, like making a living is possible. Like I know there's a handful of guys from Marvel and DC who make a ton of money making comics, but most guys don't. Like it's a grind for a lot of guys, and I don't think you can make money off it, but a lot of people, you're not going to get rich making comic books. Some people do, but as a general rule, I don't think it's like an extremely lucrative career path to choose. Much too.
It can be, I think, if you're smart about it.
It can be. You can make money at it. Absolutely.
Yeah, if that's your goal, I think, like if your goal is to get hired by a studio and get paid well, if that's what you put in front of you, then those things will happen. Like you can make good money as an artist.
Yeah.
I'm the worst person to talk about that because I do everything for free and I make no money off of it. Not willingly. It's just I want to make it, so I do it, and then nobody really wants to buy that stuff. So I want to get better at what I want to do, hoping that if I work long enough and not get paid for it, and I do start getting paid for it, I'm getting paid for what I want to do, rather than I started very young and very early trying to get hired by someone, not wanting to do any of the work, and then make good money that way. That just sounds like a regular job. I already do that, so why would I do that with art?
Yeah,
right?
me two of those. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
A good example of a Canadian artist, the guy that did the centerfold in the book. If you've been passing around, you've seen the centerfold. It's like a big 2-page spread. It's done by a guy named Aishay Han from Toronto, and he makes a living doing comics, and he just pumps stuff out. He self-publishes his own books, and somehow comes out with one every couple months, every 2 or 3 months. And he says that he goes to either a show or to a comic store to do a signing pretty much every weekend.
Huh.
And when he's in between comics, he's drawing tons and tons of like original drawings of Wonder Woman or Deadpool, whoever's popular at the time, and then selling it on eBay or selling it just on Facebook even. and he makes a living at it. I think he scrapes by.
It's a hustle. Yeah.
Yeah, but he does it. So yeah, once again, if you could do it fast, then for sure, yeah. Because if you're gonna make $50 for an original drawing or $100 for a pencil page, and like Sun said, if you can do that, a bunch of those in a day, then for sure, yeah, you could make a living at it.
Yep.
Cool. Stand in the back.
My question is for Sun also. I had for asking your sequel, so it's going to get incredibly geeky in here. I was wondering what your materials are, because I know a lot of your work is very almost like living flesh, to say, to the scientific term. It's very like sort of towards Vallejo, John Bolton, like they look like living people. So I was wondering if you use any sort of acrylics or what kind of processing.
Okay, yeah. I primarily use digital at the moment, and that's how I can get things to. I can just render until my wrist hurts. So, yeah, I'm trying to do a little bit of acrylic and oil on the side, but it takes a lot longer. You have to like work with layers, and you have to work with layers digitally too. But it takes a lot longer, and it's a lot hard. I don't want to say harder because you still have to know the skills of like anatomy and environments and all that stuff, but yeah, yeah, digital at the moment, yeah, and especially with publishers because they can say, hey, you know what, and this has happened before, make the waist smaller and the boobs bigger. Yeah, so I would be if I'd finished an oil painting, what would I do then? It would be a lot harder. So
do you also find that it helps because you can make so many mistakes that it's like a really good practicing tool for things like your values and your colors and
yeah, it's an excellent tool for beginners because you don't have to waste a ton of canvas
and money.
Yeah,
spend a lot of money on it.
Well, you have to buy the tablet that's expensive.
Yeah, you don't need paints, and canvases, and brushes.
Yeah, easy cleanup.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I am obsessed with Vallejo and Rosetta and all the masters. Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay. So the rest of you do, I mean, Dan, you prefer traditional over digital?
Yeah,
it seems,
I some of the stuff I do digitally if I'm working for someone for the same reason, because every now and then it's, oh, this looks great, but maybe we could make it blue instead of red, or can we add this, or can you change this? And if you've done a giant original illustration and they want small changes, you have to start from scratch and redo the whole thing. So anytime getting paid to do stuff, usually I start traditionally, I do the pencil sketches and drawings and layouts and stuff, but then the finished work is it just makes more sense to do it digitally, because somebody's going to want to change something. I've done everything from comics to kids' books, and at some point somebody's always like, oh, this is great, but can we add this, or can we take this out? And if you have to redo the whole thing, again, it's the matter of being faster, right? So if you have to redo the whole thing, you end up doing twice as much work for the same amount of pay, but if you can just open up Photoshop and change the expression or change the color of one or two things, you can make quick fixes and get on with your life.
Nevin, did you want to talk a bit about the Kickstarter? Sorry, Josh, did you?
No, I just forgot the question.
Oh, yeah, you want to talk a bit about the Kickstarter for the comic?
So because we're artists and we don't have any money, we needed to do a Kickstarter to raise the money to print the book. So basically and it was my first Kickstarter too, so I talked to a few people that had done Kickstarters before, and I went into it with as much information as I could. But it's always scary the first time, because it's one of those things where you're scared that you're gonna put it out there and like nobody is gonna give you $1 kind of thing.
Well, Kickstarter's all or nothing, right?
Yeah, Kickstarter's all or nothing.
Goal, you get nothing.
Yeah, for those of you that aren't familiar with Kickstarter, you either get your goal, you either raise the amount of money that you ask for, or more if it keeps going, or if you don't, then you don't get anything. So, and I knew that I wanted to print this book and get it out there, so my backup plan was to like max out my credit card and do it. So it was going to get out there one way or the other.
Solid plan.
If people don't know, these three are all in Artist Alley together selling the book as well. So you can get it signed by everyone. And there's another artist, I think he's in here, that worked on the book. He's hiding somewhere. I won't call him out, but he might sign it as well.
Yes.
If everyone's nice.
He's among us.
But for the Kickstarter and just for like in general, with the book turning out so well, like the cover, especially of course Sun's cover. I mean, I think that it's one of the best covers I've ever seen. I mean, I'm sure most people agree. And it was
So many flaws.
no, but yeah, zero flaws.
No, it's definitely.
But yeah, that was a big, like that's a huge selling point when you have a cover that is so stunning that people just want to buy the book just to hang it up on their wall. Then you know that you've got something on your hands. And then for the inside to turn out so well too. And then what's interesting with all the different styles and all the different stories, different people can flip through, because I've had that big copy with me for quite a while now, taking it from show to show, and all the people flipping through it and looking through it, and it's interesting to see the stories that different people stop at. Got a lot of people will get to Dan's, and because it's dark and it's very gritty, like, oh yeah, this is pretty dark and gritty, and yeah. And then some people get to Josh's and they see, especially when they get to the part where it shows the Stork, like, oh, that's unbelievable. Who is this guy that does this? And then same with Andrew's story. It's the last story in the book, and people always say, look at the expressions on these people's faces. Who did this? Who drew this?
I just read that story the first time, because I read through the others and I didn't get a chance to read that one. I just read it the other day. I actually really like it. You wrote that one, didn't you?
I wrote it, yeah.
So it's the last one of the story. It's really good.
Yeah, Andrew drew it, and it's magnificent. It's a really fun read, and yeah, just amazing art. And too with Josh's story, it was my fiance was reading through the whole book for the first time, and it was when she got to Josh's story and she reads the whole thing, and then she's like, oh, this story is a masterpiece. I'm like, oh, well, thanks. Did you like mine too? And she's like, yeah, your stuff's always good. So I'm like, oh, okay, but it's interesting. Every person that
I think
reads
that's
it.
part of what makes doing an anthology even better. Is there's something for everybody, right? There's different art styles and there's different stories. So if you don't like a couple of them, there's probably something you do like, and it makes it more appealing to pick up, because it's different genres, it's different writers, it's different artists. So you get like different takes on the same thing, but it makes it, I think that's part of what made the Kickstarter successful, was that because you're getting more than one story from more than one writer. So I think it's a great way to go with this kind of thing. I think it's really smart.
So there's Pierogi Cat on the bag.
Oh, yeah.
How did you?
Well, Gareth, and that's like the one thing that everybody recognizes too.
Yeah.
Because everybody knows Gareth, and everybody loves his stuff. Everybody loves Pierogi Cat. Everyone recognizes Pierogi Cat. But yeah, when I first announced on the page that I was thinking of doing this, because I know Gareth is a super busy guy, obviously, so I didn't expect. But right away, as soon as I posted it, he was like, "Oh, I'm in. I'll do something. I'll do, a pinup or whatever." And of course, it ended up being so cool. Put it on the back cover.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, he's not here today. But
Victoria got you.
yeah. But he owns Legends comic books downtown in Victoria. He does the Pierogi Cat comic, and yeah, so it's got Pierogi Cat on it, which is really cool. Because for my kids anyway, they know Pierogi Cat. That's what they got most excited about. Was they're like, oh, you got Pierogi Cat? Is in your book? Yeah. Holy smokes! I'm like, yeah, Monsterella's in it too.
Like I just said.
Yeah, the Pierogi Cat.
Pierogi Cat. Wow.
Awesome. So what's the plan for volume 2? Is there one?
Yeah, there's a plan. I've already written like tons and tons of Monsterella all the way to the end of this storyline. So there's no shortage of stories for Monsterella. The rotating stories will always change, and there will be new artists. It'll always be local, or at the very least, it'll always be Canadian. With new artists telling new stories, but also returning. Everybody that worked on the first one will be back, and I'm not sure if Josh will be in the second one, maybe. But
No, might do a pin-up or something.
okay,
Might
maybe
do a
pin up
story
or
in the
something.
third one, I don't know.
Yeah, and then do a story in the third one, and then other artists can step in and they can do something, and you know, so there's Arlen is an artist. He's here today. He's got a booth. He's going to be doing a story for the second issue, and yeah, there'll always be a rotating. That's kind of make it fresh too. Is all the fresh new artists and writers, and yeah. But the Monsterella story will be like an ongoing story, and then everything else is always a concluded story. But we do plan to start it. We've started it already, and yeah, there's not like a release date set, but it'll be sooner than later.
Nice. Does any last questions for? Yeah.
The marketing, how would you say would be leading up to the Kickstarter? What would you say would be one of the most effective marketing techniques for putting Monsterella out there?
Good question. It's because wherever you market it, when you're doing the Kickstarter, for anyone that's never done a Kickstarter, it takes you can go into this page and it shows you where everybody came from, where on the internet and where in the world they came from, so that you can use that information to more effectively market your next one, kind of thing. But the majority of people came from Facebook, and I did a lot of advertising, well, not advertising, but just on multiple pages. That was another benefit of having so many people involved with all their own followings too, is that they're all promoting it, so it gets promoted in multiple angles. And for the most part, it was Kickstarter. I did a few interviews with a few websites, and a lot of hits came from that, and a lot of backers came from that, from those sites directly too. But I think it said something like 67% was people that saw it on Facebook, and they just clicked, and then they looked through, and then they backed it, and that shows you where they're from and where in the world, and on what Facebook page that they came from, and everything.
I think with, especially with Kickstarter, I think if the first one is successful, oftentimes if you do a second one, it's even more successful, because the people who backed it the first time, they actually got their book and it worked out well, and then you usually get the same people who were interested in the first one will come back, but then they will also kind of promote it on their own. Like, well, if it turned out well for them, they'll tell their friends. And like I said, the more people you have involved, the easier the marketing is, because so much of it goes through Facebook. If it's only one person putting it on a couple of Facebook pages, it doesn't go that far. But if there's like 6 or 8 people involved and they're all sharing it to different places, it just sort of spider webs out quickly. So I think
when I was in Calgary, the Fan Expo in Calgary, I had people come up to my booth that said, "Oh, I've seen this Monsterella." Yeah, it was really cool, because like Calgary, I don't know if you guys were right. Yeah. So, and this was at before I got there, which is cool. So it is working. I mean, Facebook is the tool, right?
And the Kickstarter itself is very like a lot of people just go onto Kickstarter looking for new projects and stuff, because they're all looking for something cool to back and be a part of something. And yeah, that was another big percentage, was something like 20% of people just saw it on Kickstarter, and backers came from all over the world. Like the comic is going to over 10 countries, and yeah, so from there, yeah, for the second issue, all those people come back, and yeah. But for marketing images and tools, basically all I did is I took a page from each of the stories and the cover and put together a little press release kit and sent that out. And I know a guy who does press releases and stuff for people at Marvel and DC, and he just happened to be a fan of the last comic that I did, Calgary the Undead. And so I contacted him and asked if he would get it out there. He sent it to over 6,000 different news sources, but he says you're lucky to get 5% of the people that you send press releases out to do it. I think maybe only 1 or 2% got back and wanted to do either like an interview or to do a story on it, kind of thing. But that was really helpful too. And the cover, of course, once again, coming back to the cover, it's one of those things that when you show that and you have like that cover and it says Monsterella, you know, check this out, click here, you can't help but click on it because
It's tough to not click on.
yeah.
The moves help.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Any other questions before we wrap up? Yeah.
I actually had a question for you. I'm an artist and I'm wanting to get into digital art. What kind of drawing tablet would you recommend?
The only tablet I ever got was a Wacom. It's antique, so you're probably familiar with them. Yeah, so there's a screen and they are pretty pricey. But I just recently got an iPad Pro and they're half that. They're half the price of a Wacom and they're actually really, really quite nice. You can get a lot of work done on these. But it doesn't have Photoshop, right? So, or I don't know if there's a way to get Photoshop on here, but yeah, so that's what I work on is Photoshop and my Wacom. And then when I'm on the go, I use this, and I can actually get almost like images pretty much almost ready to go to the publisher with just this.
I do my stuff digital as well, and I'll just, because what I use is the Intuos 4 or whatever. It's just a little small one, but it's probably like the better quality. There's like a bamboo one and then a couple others, and those aren't as good quality. And with those tablets, because you're looking at the screen and drawing like this, so it's kind of weird. The one she draws on the screen. So the one I use, you have to get used to that, and I'm really used to that now. But that one's probably better because you can get them for like $300 to $400 at Best Buy. And yeah, those are probably the ones that I've used. So.
I do recommend you take breaks because you're staring at a screen so closely to it that there's even this Facebook telling everybody, and it got shared like 1,000 times, who ended up with some eye spasms from staring at her Wacom tablet. Yeah, so you can actually really hurt your eyes. So
yeah, when I
take breaks.
I actually forgot about this. When I finished my story, I was just kind of frantic and just really crazy at the end of it, and I hurt my back from sitting too long, sitting for so long, because every day I put in like 8 to 10 hours a day for that many months, and I was having to start having nightmares of the Stork, so I was going insane. My eye was for a full day, I'm not joking, was twitching. And it wasn't like, you know when you can feel your eye twitch, but it's not actually twitching? I was looking in the mirror, and my eye is just going crazy. Like, I'm going insane. So yeah, take breaks, because you know, it's a huge disservice to get a hurt back and great.
You don't want to lose your eyeballs.
Crazy.
Wow. Well, with that word of warning and caution, yeah, I guess we'll wrap up. But thank you guys so much. This is awesome. If you haven't picked up your copy yet, definitely do. Get it signed by the team, and yeah.
Shaved, right? Okay, cool.
Yeah. If you haven't read it, read it. Forget the outcome of the Stork, and then yeah, it'll be fresh and new again. So yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.